Hello, everyone. I had such a wonderful lesson today with my students from Myanmar. We had a wonderful academic skills workshop, and today what I want to do is I want to go over the first part of that workshop. We're going to talk about academic reading. We're going to talk about reading for key information, and specifically about main idea and supporting details. We're going to look at a few different types of text and how we can pick out the main idea. And we're also going to talk about study skills like highlighting and annotating. So let's go ahead and let's get started here. I'm going to move into our warm-up. So I want you to think a little bit about how you learn English best. And I want you to think specifically about academic English, because academic English is a bit different than the English that we use every day. So when we talk about everyday English, we're talking about the English that we use when we're communicating with our friends, with our family. It's very informal. We use a lot of contractions. We might use slang or other types of informal expressions. But when we talk about academic English, we're talking about English that's more formal. The structure of academic English is different than everyday English. Of course, everyday English is less structured, but particularly when we're talking about academic text, academic writing, there is a structure that needs to be followed. And as academic readers, it helps us to be familiar with that structure. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're going to cover in this lesson. Today in this first video, I'm going to talk specifically about academic reading, and we're going to build on what we cover here as we go into our academic writing section. We'll talk about reading for key information and note-taking, highlighting, and annotating. So let's go ahead and talk about our academic reading skills. So we want to look specifically for key information. And I want you to think before you read a text, when you preview a text, where might you look to get the important ideas in that text? And at the end of our lesson, hopefully you're going to have a better idea. But to start, one place I might look is the title. The title of the text is very important. You might look for section headings or headers. Those can be good clues about the big ideas that are contained within a text. And once you familiarize yourself with the rhetorical features of academic writing and you're familiar with how to use those skills and that knowledge as an academic reader, you'll begin to look at different parts of a text, different parts of an essay to figure out what it's mostly about. You'll look for things like the thesis statement and the topic sentences in body paragraphs. And we're going to talk more about that today. So, the most important idea that the author wants to share with us is the main idea. So, remember, when you're writing, your essay has a main idea, it has an argument, and that main idea is going to be your thesis statement. And you're going to support that thesis with other big ideas. The big idea in each body paragraph is going to be represented by the topic sentence. And we're going to talk more about that. So key details that help us to better understand the main idea are called supporting details. So let's take a look at an example of a short academic text here. It says, in the heart of a rainforest, a complex web of life thrives beneath the tall trees. The thick canopy blocks much of the sunlight, creating a cool, shaded world below. Many animals, such as monkeys and birds, live in the trees where they find food and shelter. On the ground, insects and small mammals search through the fallen leaves for seeds and fruits. Some frogs use the leaves to collect water, while snakes hide in the shadows to hunt their prey. Each creature plays a part in keeping the rainforest alive. So that right there looks really important to me. So I see how all these animals play an important part in the rainforest ecosystem. Let's move to our next paragraph on plants. Plants in the rainforest also work together with animals. Some flowers depend on hummingbirds and bees to spread their pollen. In return, these animals get nectar. Trees with sweet fruits attract animals like toucans and monkeys, which help carry the seeds to new places. Even when plants die, mushrooms and other decomposers break them down into rich soil, helping new plants grow. This cooperation between plants, animals, and even fungi helps the rainforest remain a healthy and balanced ecosystem. Okay, so I can see here that the animals play an important part in keeping the rainforests alive. The plants work together with the animals, and the decomposers help break down soil to help the plants to grow. So I've got all of these three things working together within a rainforest ecosystem. So the trees and plants are providing food and shelter for animals. The animals are helping the plants to thrive. They're carrying the seeds to new places. And the decomposers, the mushrooms, they're breaking down the dead plants. They're providing the rich soil that these plants need to grow, to reproduce. So I can see how all of these things, they're all connected. And that's the main idea of that text. All the plants and animals in a rainforest ecosystem are connected together. Now, if I wanted to think critically about this passage, I might say, I wonder what would happen if one element of this ecosystem was removed. What would happen if we took away the plants? Well, that would be problematic, right? If we took away the plants, some of these animals might not have food. They might not have places to live. The animals might not be able to survive. The rainforest ecosystem would break down. So we need all of these things together for the rainforest ecosystem to function. So let's go ahead and let's take a look here at three different paragraphs. And we're going to talk about the main idea in each paragraph. Now, the first paragraph, number one over here, and the third paragraph, number three over here, they give us the main idea within the paragraph. The second paragraph is a little bit different. We're going to need to read the key details and figure out what the main idea is. So let's take a look at the first and the third paragraph first. Public libraries provide more than just books. They offer free internet access, quiet spaces for studying, and educational programs for people of all ages. Many libraries also help people find jobs by offering computer access and resume help. These services make libraries an important resource in the community. Okay, so let me go ahead and look at some of these key details here. The first one says libraries offer free internet access. They offer quiet spaces to study. They offer educational programs. They help people find jobs. It says computer access and resume support. And all of those things are supporting details. They tell us about the main idea. So, what do all these things have in common? Well, they're all important services that libraries provide to the community. So that last sentence tells me the main idea. Let's take a look at our third paragraph. Before supermarkets, people shopped at traditional markets. These outdoor markets were full of small stalls selling fresh fruits, vegetables, and handmade goods. Many still exist today, where shoppers can talk directly with sellers and support local farmers and artists. Traditional markets are an important part of many cultures. So I can see that I've got a description of these markets. They're full of small stalls selling fruits, vegetables, and handmade goods. Shoppers can talk directly with sellers. They can support local farmers and artists. So I see that all of these things tell me how traditional markets are an important part of many cultures. So all of those key details are provided, and the last sentence tells me the main idea. This second paragraph, I'm going to have to think very carefully about what the main idea is. I'm going to have to put all the key details together. So let's work through that second paragraph now. Learning a second language can improve the way people think. It helps the brain stay active and improves memory. People who speak more than one language often find better job opportunities. In addition, it allows them to communicate with people from different cultures and countries. So I see a lot of great details here. So learning a second language can improve the way we think. It helps the brain stay active. It improves our memory. It helps us to have better job opportunities, and it allows us to communicate with people from different cultures and countries. So, if I were to put all of those things together, I need to ask myself, what do they all have in common? Well, they all tell me the advantages or the benefits to learning a second language. So, when I look at what all the key details have in common, that helps me to understand the main idea of the text, which is there are many benefits to learning a second language, right? So I'm able to identify all those key details and then figure out what the main idea is. So it's important when we're reading for key information that we highlight the text. So when we go back and we review it, we're able to see right away without rereading what the important points in that text were. So when we're highlighting, we want to make sure that we're not highlighting everything in the text. Look at this example here. In this particular paper, it's as if the person highlighted nothing because so much of the text has been highlighted that the highlights are largely useless. They don't point out the key bits of information. So let's take a look at this paragraph here. All right, I want you to pause the video and read through this, and then we're going to work through and highlight the important sentences. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you've read through that whole paragraph. I want you to think about what this paragraph is mostly about, or what this essay, I should say, is mostly about. So this essay tells me all about the advantages of learning English. And I see that right there. It's in the last sentence of the introductory paragraph. Now, there are many big ideas that support the idea or support the main idea that learning English has many advantages. And those are examples of some of those advantages. Here, learning English helps people to connect with others. It can lead to better job opportunities. And it gives people access to knowledge and entertainment. So, all of those things are bigger ideas that support our main idea. So, if I were going to highlight this text, I would ask myself, okay, what's the main idea? What is the author arguing here? Or another question I could ask is, what is the thesis statement? And if I see that right there, that last sentence of that introduction, that's my thesis statement. It's my argument or the main idea of the whole essay, which is that learning English gives people many advantages in daily life and in their future. So if I was going to highlight one thing, that's something I would highlight. Now, I want to know, what are examples of this? All right, so I can look here. It helps to connect people with others, leads to better job opportunities, and helps us access knowledge and entertainment. This is also an important test-taking skill to highlight or underline or annotate a text with those key details, those big ideas. You might see a test question that says, how can learning English lead to better job opportunities? If I look at what's underlined or highlighted, I can see, okay, here's the paragraph where the author is going to talk about how English leads to better job opportunities. I'm going to reread that paragraph. Many companies around the world use English as their main language. Workers who can speak and write in English have a better chance of getting hired or promoted. And in fields like tourism, international trade, and technology, employers often look for people who can use English confidently. So if that's a multiple choice question, I'm going to look for any one of those key details as an answer choice. And I know that's going to be my correct answer. So that's going to help me. So I'm going to show us one more paragraph here. Okay, I'm going to move past this. Okay, and we're going to talk really briefly about annotating. Just as we highlighted, you can choose to annotate where you're going to write what the main idea is, write what the key details are. Perhaps you're going to circle important things and make small notes. It takes a little bit more time, but it's very effective. So now let's take a look at one last passage here. Okay, so I want you to pause the video. I want you to read through this. I want you to think about what you would highlight or where you would make annotations if you were reading this text and you were going to use it for a study tool or it was reference material on an exam. So go ahead, pause your video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. All right, hopefully you've gotten a chance to read through that now. So I'm going to look first for that thesis statement. Playing sports gives many benefits both on and off the field. So that's my main idea or my thesis. What are those benefits? Well, it teaches communication, helps us to build relationships, and it helps us to stay healthy. So right there, I've got 3 paragraphs that tell me about the big ideas related to the benefits of team sports. Some of those benefits are related to on-field benefits. Some are related to off-field benefits. So we can see here, each of those topic sentences is highlighted. If I go back to my introduction, I can see that the author mentions these in the introduction. And I can also see when I go back to my conclusion that the author mentions them in the conclusion as well. Okay, so I am going to stop here for today. Okay, we're going to come back in our next video and we're going to talk more about academic essay writing and how what we learned in this video can help us to be better academic writers. So we're going to leverage our strength as academic readers to become better academic writers. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video at the Language Arts Gallery.